It's 2 in the morning. I don't know if alpha servers are gonna even be up tomorrow, so I gotta record this now. I've done other videos probably by the time this one's coming out since then as well, so I want to make this kind of point clear. First off, everything I'm going to talk about in this video is from alpha testing. Everything is subject to change. A lot of things I'm going to talk about in this video as well are going to be like subjective, my opinion of the tank of the class. And the most important thing as well is I am not a paladin savant. I am not someone who necessarily mains Paladin. I've played Paladin at a competitive level, so it's a tank I am more intimate with than something like maybe Blood Death Knight, but I am probably going to skim over or skip or just forget to talk about some things that were changed or removed or added that might have more of an impact that I'm giving it credit for. In this video, I'm going to try to talk about everything that Paladins have lost. I'm going to mention things that they have gained and anything that was reworked of any kind of substantial nature, so it has to have like a major impact on the gameplay loop. I'm also going to try to talk about Apex talents a little bit, along with both of the hero talents as well. There's a lot to get through in this video. I apologize for it being a little bit longer. Feel free to use the timestamps below to skip around. And at the end, I'm just going to give my overall opinions on how the class is playing through my testing in the available content that we've had access to on alpha. So mostly normal dungeons, a little bit of world content. Also, I'm losing my voice, so I'm sorry if I sound like I've been smoking. It's because I've been smoking, but I'm also losing my voice. Now, I like the direction that they're going with Paladin going into alpha, or into midnight, I should say, maybe beta testing. But I will say this. Paladin has lost a lot of impactful things. Their spec tree, from what I've been able to tell and test and look through and cross-compare, they're not losing a lot in the class tree. Your class tree is mostly staying the same. A couple of minor changes here and there. The biggest ones are going to be things like Blessing of Dawn getting reworked, along with Blessing of Dusk being split into kind of two different kind of nodes here. Paladins also lost the ability to have kind of higher group healing, mostly in raid for the removal of Judgment of Light. So that is kind of an F. But let's take a look at the spec tree, because this is where I think they lost some of the goodies and the things that made Paladin, Paladin. Paladin has lost a lot of its major cooldowns. So Eye of Tyr has been removed along with Inmost Light, which was kind of the empowered node. I'll get to this in a bit, but it also means that the Templar contingency to proc Hammer of Light has been changed to Divine Toll. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think, at least to me, Eye of Tyr was never a fun button to hit. I never liked pressing it. It never did a insane amount of damage, and the DR was pretty minor, but what it did is it allowed you to, well, keep up some type of sizable DR in combat. The whole gameplay loop for Paladin over the last, probably since Legion is managing your major cooldowns, because you have a lot of them, especially now. You had in, the War Within, you have things like Sentinel, Guardian of Ancient Kings, Ardent Defender, Eye of Tyr, Bubble, your Gift of the Golden Valkyr cheats, along with all of these having cooldown reduction. You also have things like Sack and Blessing of Protection, of course. Blizzard is getting rid of that. So Eye of Tyr is the big one. That's probably the only DR that we're really losing. I'm air quoting here. You can't see it because I don't have my camera on. But Blizzard is also heavily stripping out cooldown reduction you're getting from spending Holy Power. Now, not every tank is being treated like this, so it's weird that they're doing it for Paladin specifically. So, for example, Resolute Defender is now just causing Ardent Defender to last longer instead of giving it cooldown reduction. Righteous Protector has been reworked, so instead of cooldown reduction on Avenging Wrath along with Guardian of Ancient Kings, it now simply just cuts Avenging Ruledown's cooldown in half, but it reduces its duration by 40%. So you'll technically have more wings up time, but you'll have less duration during that window. Is this going to be played? I don't really know. It'll line your cooldown up with Divine Toll a little bit nicer, but you're now not going to have Wings or Sentinel as a good major cooldown as regularly. I'm not sure how I feel about Righteous Protector yet. I think it's something that I want to play with in Mythic Plus, but in normal dungeons that I mostly tested in, it just doesn't feel good. So I just stayed with the normal 2-minute wings. So they have actually baked blocking spells into our mastery. but they have removed the talents that allow you to increase your block chance. So like things like Barricade of Light, Faith in the Light, those are gone. Improved block, those are all being removed. They are also removing Consecration DR from your mastery, along with things like Moment of Glory have been replaced. So, oh, also Bastion of Light, I forgot to mention that. So there's been a lot of things that have been removed from the kit. Now, I will say that the rework to mastery is also pretty good. So mastery now just increases your melee block chance and the chance to block spells and periodic effects by 40%. And so this mastery change is actually, I think, pretty good. We'll have to see what values actually end up being in the future, but without having all those mastery or block percentage increases, I'm not sure how valuable this is going to be compared to having those additional talents in our tree like before. There have been a lot of things were lost, but we did gain a few things. So first things first, Empyrean Authority grants us an additional use of Guardian of Ancient Kings. Now, the problem I have with this talent is we still have cooldown reduction involved in Guardian through Gift of the Golden Valkyr. Every enemy hit by Avenger Shield reduces the remaining cooldown on Guardian of Ancient Kings by 1 second. So this obviously has synergy with Avenger Shield. It's going to have synergy with Glory of the Vanguard. It's going to have synergy with Lightsmith, and of course, Divine Toll. You're going to get a good bit of cooldown reduction on Guardian of Ancient Kings, even without Resolute Defender, which means that having the extra charge could be nice, but you're only ever benefiting from the cooldown reduction on one of the 2 charges at a time. So if you use both charges, the first charge that's recharging is the only one benefiting. This is obviously how WoW has always worked, but it means that this kind of like loses its value in a way when you're playing with cooldown reduction. One other interesting thing that we've gained is this thing called Valiant Crusade. Similar to the changes to like BDK or Vengeance Demon Hunter, or things like Prot Warriors always had, when you're out of combat, your Divine Steed is going to grant you Shield of the Righteous for its duration, plus the duration of your steed plus 2 seconds. So when you're running up to a pole, before just chucking your shield at it, you want to steed up, then go into combat, and you're going to have solder going in, which should reduce, this accompanied with the change to our consecration should reduce the chance of you just going splat on pole, because you'll have your defensive up, and you don't need consecration to be down to be tanky. Fucking amen, right? Big blessed. One other small thing that they added was Sweeping Verdict. Judgment now chains to 2 additional targets at 50% effectiveness. This is good. Judgment is now like a little AoE button. We like Judgment, so that's good. And then they added a bunch of like little consecration nodes. So Avenger Shield will cause your consecration to erupt. Consecration just heals you. Consecration deals 100% increased damage when it strikes a single target. Sanctuary was removed or moved way down to the bottom of the tree, and it does give you a 5% DR when you're standing in consecration, but I don't know if you'll actually be able to actually play all the way down here. We'll have to see once smarter people than me actually start testing. Outside of that though, everything else should be kind of like your standard paladin kit. So let's talk about hero talents. Now, I believe I've done a separate video talking about both Lightsmith and Templar, or maybe it was just Templar, but let's talk about the additions that Lightsmith gained. So first things first, Masterwork was added. So after casting a Holy Ornament, which is kind of the core whole gameplay loop of Lightsmith, your next 3 abilities will cast a lesser ornament of the same kind on a nearby ally. So I believe this is the tier set from Season 3 of The War Within, like a version of it, maybe a little watered down. Nothing too crazy. Basically, as you cast them, you're just going to apply mini versions, which will also either cause people to do more damage for you or a little bit of absorb/healing. The next thing that they added was Resounding Strike, which actually skips down. So Hammer and Anvil, I believe, was moved over from somewhere else in the tree. I don't remember where it was exactly. But anyways, Divine Toll activates Hammer and Anvil at 100% effectiveness. So this is going to cause your Divine Toll to have insane burst potential once you get everything kind of grouped up. Just really good. Just a nice strong burst thing that you don't really need to think about. Just gives a little bit more oomph and power to Divine Toll, especially during like Avenging Wrath. Last but not least, we have Reflection of Radiance. When your Holy Bulwark absorbs damage, or your sacred weapon deals damage, you have a chance to gain Grand Crusader. Grand Crusader is the proc chance of resetting your Avenger Shield and granting cooldown to your Judgment if you're playing Crusader's Judgment. So essentially what ends up happening with Lightsmith is that you start to kind of ignore, I shouldn't say ignore, but Blessed Hammer takes like a back burner position where you end up spending most of your rotation hitting Avenger Shield and Judgment because you're getting so many resets as you're applying Armaments through your, obviously, your Armament cast. All in all, I think Lightsmith does play really well. I think it plays a little bit better. It plays better than Templar does, but both are fine. In a world where if I had to choose which one's my favorite, I think Lightsmith is. Thematically, I think Lightsmith fits into what I envision a Protection Paladin doing. Granting your allies armor, absorption shields, giving them holy weapons to fight enemies with, which then kind of funnel back into you giving you damage, allowing you to additionally heal through things like Tempered in Battle, Grand Crusade procs giving you more, shield, and Judgment casts. It's all good. I really like the theme of Lightsmith compared to Templar, but it's not to say that Templar's bad. So Templar is changed from being Eye of Tyr to now being Divine Toll. Now, the main problem with this is it somewhat incentivizes you, depending on tuning, if you're playing Templar, to swap off of playing the Divine Resonance? What's this called? It kind of wants you to then play Quickened Invocation so you can cast it more often, so you can get more casts of Hammer of Light, which obviously then bakes into everything else here. But let's just assume we're going to keep Divine Resonance and it's fine. So the 3 talents that they added, I've covered this in a previous video, but just to keep it in here as well, Divine Hammer has been added. So Divine Toll summons Divine Hammers that spin around you for 8 seconds, which this is just like an AoE aura. Think of it like Immo Aura or Rushing Jade Wind or, Brambles, I guess, kind of in like a smaller way, but this is going to hit really hard. So when you're playing Templar and you just Divine Toll, you're going to have these hammers spinning around you that are hitting, fairly hard. 3k is a pretty sizable hit. Now, these are going to actually respawn every time you cast Hammer of Light. So you're able to actually extend these hammers for like a prolonged period of time. You're going to end up having, give or take, 25 seconds of these hammers spinning around you. It feels very much Diablo-esque. It feels like a Diablo Paladin. Next, we have Light's Judicator. There we go. Empyrean hammers deal 20% increased critical strike damage, and its critical strike have a 50% chance to grant you an additional stack of Light's Deliverance. Now, I believe Hammer of Light is bugged currently on alpha. You never actually consume your 60 stacks. It gets to 60 and then it never actually consumes to cause your Divine Toll to become Hammer of Light again. So that's kind of the major issue with this right now, but basically it just means more stacks, which means more uses of Hammer of Light, which then funnels into more Sacrosanct Crusades, which is absorb shields for your max health, and obviously max health healing. So with that being bugged currently, this hero talent just feels a little bit worse to play with because you're basically only ever playing around Divine Toll, which is a 1-minute cooldown baseline if you're playing Divine Resonance. All in all, though, this is going to incentivize clearly Haste and Critical Strike as your 2 primary stats. With the rework to Mastery, might not be the best thing, even though crit has been a popular choice for the Protection Paladin in recent seasons. Last but not least, we got a choice node between Divine Exaction and Seal of the Templar. So Seal of the Templar is just a judgment damage increase, probably better for any kind of environment where you're going to be mostly doing single target damage, so think single target raid encounters. But Divine Exaction causes Divine Toll to cast 2 additional times on your target at 150p effectiveness. So when I Divine Toll here, you're going to see that I'm going to throw out 2 additional shields. This is going to give you additional CDR, and that's pretty much it. It's just additional cooldown reduction on like Guardian of Ancient Kings. It's additional damage to Revenger Shield. I don't think it interacts with our hero talent at all. Actually, I don't even know, but that's a great transition. Let's talk about Glory of the Vanguard. So this is our Apex talent. I think anyone who really enjoyed Shadowlands Protection Paladin should at least have some level of interest or respect for what they're trying to do here. Glory of the Vanguard is very simple. Judgment has a chance to grant you Vanguard, causing your next Avenger Shield to leave a echoing bolt of light in a line between you and your initial target, piercing any enemy struck for a small bit of holy damage. And when I say small bit, like 1600 at this item level is like pretty good compared to like what Consecration is going to be doing or Blessed Hammer. So what that looks like here is I just got the proc of Vanguard, and so when I throw my Avenger Shield maybe at this far target, you're going to see like this bolt of light come out of my character, and it's doing damage to every character in this line. So it's like a very tight frontal. Most of the time you're going to be hitting everything in front of you, but you do need to be relatively aware of where the mob that you're targeting is positioned. So moving on from that, Judgment deals 20% increased damage. Actually, it's 10% per point. And Consuming Vanguard, so consuming that buff with Avenger Shield, grants you 1 to 3 holy power. 1 if you have 1 point, 3 if you have 2 points here. So the reason I bring up Shadowlands is because back in the day, Avenger Shield used to generate holy power. With this Apex talent, you're now going to be having a chance for Avenger Shield to generate you holy power. Right now I'm at 1, I have the proc of Vanguard, I hit Avenger Shield, I'm now at 4 holy power. Boom, I can go into a Shield of Righteous, and we're good. I just got another proc of Vanguard. So Vanguard procs regularly, which is really good. So my next Avenger Shield, boom, we're procking that holy power. So basically what it's doing is it's causing your Avenger Shield to generate holy power. Now the reason I want to kind of come back to Lightsmith really quick is when you're playing with the Reflection of Radiance, when your Bulwark absorbs damage or your weapons deal damage from both your armaments and your lesser weapons through Masterwork, you have a chance to gain Grand Crusade. So as you're spreading your weapons around in your party, whether you're in Raid or Mythic Plus, getting Grand Crusade procs means you're going to get more resets on Avenger Shield, which means you can consume Vanguard more often because it can proc regularly as long as you're casting Judgment regularly. So really good synergy with Lightsmith. Beyond that, the capstone Apex talent is when Consume Vanguard, your next Shield of the Righteous will deal 20% more damage to your primary target and cause light to refract. So basically it's going to cleave additional holy damage onto 4 additional targets. So it's just free cleave, free damage. But during Avenging Wrath, your Avenger Shield always benefits as if it had Vanguard. So when you eventually pop your wings, let's go over here actually. When I pop my wings, every time I cast Avenger Shield, I should be gaining that Vanguard, even though I don't know if it's necessarily working right now. It was working in a dungeon, so maybe I'll just throw up that footage, but it is very good. Yeah, it's not working on these training dummies for some reason, but it does work in dungeons, so take that how you will. So those are, I think I've covered most of like the major changes that I think are gonna clearly affect the Paladin tank, along with all of their gain abilities, and I think I've covered now the Apex talents along with the hero talents. Right now, the big major bug, like I've already mentioned, is Light's Deliverance isn't getting consumed with Divine Toll. I'm hoping they change that before beta comes out, or at least before Mythic Plus testing comes out, because being able to cast Hammer of Light more regularly, especially with things like Divine Hammer and Sacrosanct Crusade, it's pretty important to be able to cast Hammer of Light regularly. Now, the issue I had with testing is that the gear that they give you, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, they don't give you like any haste gear, which makes Paladin, as most of you know, a pretty difficult spec to play with and test, because you require a specific level of haste to be able to cast spells quickly, to have lower cooldowns on like things like Judgments, to have faster attacks, etc. Overall, I will say that Paladin plays okay, but I have concerns with how it's going to perform in higher content in its current state. Now, again, like I said, there's obviously like caveats about secondary stats, and of course the removal of the cooldown reduction, on top of there being obviously a couple of bugs with hero talents and, you know, etc. Out of the two, I think Lightsmith has a better synergy with the Apex talents, and it feels more thematic and more powerful in its given windows. But I will say, again, Templar is bugged, and that's probably making me a little biased towards one over the other. If I missed anything that was extremely important, please let me know down below. While I do enjoy Paladin and I play it occasionally on live servers and I've pushed with it in the past, I am nowhere near a savant. I am no Yoda. I'm no dorky. I'm no tactics. So if I missed anything, please let me know. when I get into beta testing, anything that I missed that was important enough, I will make sure I am talking about and considering in future testing. I hope this did a decent job at showcasing you what Paladin is looking like and how it's feeling, and has both showcased the pros and the cons of the class going into beta testing and, of course, midnight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is well past 2 a.m. for me, so I need to go crash. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.